Today, we talk Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham, does he finally take the step into a first-round fantasy asset this season? Jalen Duren, does he stay injury-free and climb up into the top 50? All this and more on the other side of this. Welcome back to the Ball Logic podcast. I'm the Horse, and joining me is the man that's had as many frothies as I've had hot dinners. It's Matrix. How you doing?
Unless you had 4 hot dinners tonight, I think I'm ahead.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk all things Detroit Pistons. So if you haven't yet, be that triple banger, like, subscribe, and put the bell on. That way you know exactly when we go live here on YouTube. And also give us that 5-star review on audio. Helps us get us out into the algorithm that is all good things fantasy basketball. Matrix, Detroit Pistons, last year, they finished 44-38 on the season. How'd you see that for them? That's a bit of an improvement from previous seasons.
An improvement. I think they had a 14-win season the year before, and that was the first time they made playoffs in something stupid like 15, 17 years. So, yeah, super exciting for them. I'm very interested to see where they go from here. They've made a couple of moves. I'm not sure if it moves the needle too much, but I think that they'll be stoked just to be playing playoff basketball again. Even I think that that's a successful year from where they've come. They've got a lot of youth, which of course is very exciting for fantasy basketball and also just watching. Of course, their main man is Cade, and I am, a bit of a Cade glazer, to be honest. I love watching him play, and he's somebody that I'll be looking at for fantasy.
100%, mate. So we're looking at the Detroit Pistons, of course, and with that natural progression of their young guys, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Ausar Thompson, and then you've got the old heads in Tobias Harris and the likes. There's a chance that they could do some damage at the East, given that Celtics have had their injury issues and now trading away all their decent players. Indiana now, without Tyrese Halliburton for the season. Turner's been traded away to Milwaukee. Milwaukee now, it's Giannis and Turner without Lillard. There's all of a sudden a bit of scope there for Detroit to make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, I do think so. I think like an unreal season for them would be to be top 4. But realistically, I probably see him as like the 6 to the 8 seed. Of course, the opportunities there. There's talent there. I don't think it's going to come from, the additional assets that they've got. I don't think it's going to come from moves at the deadline. I think it's just going to be growth from within, which I suppose today we'll try and project where these players are going to be after a year of growth.
For sure. So you speak about the additions that the Detroit Pistons have gained this offseason. There are 2 notable ones in Caris LeVert and Duncan Robinson. So 2 players who love to score the rock. You said earlier that you don't think these players move the needle too much. They finished with 44 wins last year. Are they going to be able to help nudge Detroit closer to that 48 to 50 win season? Or do you think they're still there and thereabouts the 44 to 46 wins?
I think if they can get to 48 to 50 wins, and probably 50 is a bit too far, but let's call it 46 to 49. I think if they get there, it's not because of these guys. I think that it's because of their natural growth in Cade, your Ivies, your Jalen Durens, your Ausar Thompsons. But I do think that their spacing gets a lot better with Duncan Robinson. And I actually hate the Caris LeVert ad. He's like a Ausar Thompson from Wish. So, yeah, it actually makes complete and zero sense as to why they would add somebody like that, unless it's just, that sort of injury cover. Like, honestly, he's probably even a shit Ron Holland, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't even know why that they've went and added this guy. But anyway, he's there. He'll soak up some minutes if someone gets injured, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a huge quality. I love that, though. Just going out on a limb and going that this guy's not going to be very good. For me, I think he probably plays a bit of a role off the bench, whether it is that scoring punch that they may lack a little bit with old mate who allegedly likes to throw some coin around on NBA games, Malik Beasley not being there anymore, and a few other guys.
Well, hey, he hasn't been convicted yet.
No?
So unless technically he's still on this roster. But
Okay.
yeah, I do think that maybe him being there and you've got Duncan Robertson can kind of do what he did, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Duncan Robinson is Malik Beasley from last year. So we can just leave it at that. But what we're going to do now, mate, you've touched on him a couple of times before, but Team Top Gun, here are your guns for this Detroit Pistons team this year. Cade Cunningham. So he's been teetering on the edge of relevancy the last couple of years, coming back from injury. He early on in his career, it was very injury interrupted, but last year we saw that growth, that ability to be able to take over games. And even though his turnovers were at 4.4 turnovers per game, which is quite ordinary, the rest of his game was actually really nice, Matrix.
Yeah, and actually played a lot more games than I thought. 35 minutes a night, 26 points. We've seen natural progression every season since he's come into the league, which I really like. Even improvements in field goal percentage. So I think the natural progression. I mean, it's hard to expect him to get so much better. Last year he was an all-star. Last year is all team 3, I think.
I think it was.
So it's hard to expect him to get much better, except maybe the guys around him being better facilitators. Really struggled because when Jaden Ivey was out, or struggled to get that cohesion, I suppose, with the other guys. He created his own shots the whole time. Whereas you just think if some of these pieces can come a bit together, not only will Detroit be able to progress, but maybe Cade will get more open jumpers and it won't just be so much hard work out there, because it does look like a slog for him.
Last year was the first year in a long time Detroit actually looked like they wanted to win games, and it's fairly evident in that with Cade Cunningham playing 35 minutes a night across his 70 games. So that's unreal when you're talking minutes per game production out of Cade, and that may be why they're bringing in a Caris LeVert to, that may go back to 33 or 32 minutes and he may get more minutes off the pine. We're yet to see this, but when we're talking first round picks in fantasy matrix, do you think this is the year that, he's inside the top 12, especially with the injuries to Tatum, to Halliburton, to Kyrie Irving, to Dame Lillard? The list goes on.
Yeah, so he finished last year at number 11. I'm drafting him at number 8 this year. I just won below Trae Young, and that's only because of the way that I like to build my team. But if you told me that you're taking this guy at 7, I wouldn't talk you out of it. Even if you hate punt builds, if you're taking him at 6, I wouldn't talk you out of it. His current ADP is lower than honestly it should be. I think it's 13 on ESPN, 9 on Fantrax. I think that he will outperform that this year. And you're right when you talk about all the players missing in the East. Like, he was around about your Tyrese Halliburton stats wise. Of course, you've got Jason Tatum dropping out there. You've got, a year older for your Steph Currys, your Kevin Durant's, all that. Like, it's Cade's time.
100%. And I will be clipping that, ladies and gentlemen. Matrix said I was right. So there's a first for everything.
I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, please don't. We're going to get into our plays that we think are ready to rise.
And it's crazy. Your opportunity.
Now, for me, there's a big guy in the center at the 5 position for Detroit that you and I have a little bit of differing opinion on, and that's Jalen Duren. I'll let you go first as to why you think that the 70 ADP that he's been picked at the moment is where you think he should be going.
Yeah, I think... Look, when I look at his stats, the issue for me isn't Jalen Duren. I think we've just seen what it is. And he has not improved on any year ever. Like, you go back to 22-23 and he's, 9-9 shooting 64%. And then you go to 2023 and he's 13-11, but got to be worse of a shooter. And then you go to the next year and he's 11-10. Like, he just has never got any better. So that's what makes me think that we've just seen, and he is just what it says on the tin. Do I like to get too spicy with my centers? Not really. And I'm completely fine to draft him about 70, but I'm not drafting him at 70 thinking he's going to be the 40th best player. I think that there's too many cooks in the kitchen for this team for him to progress outside of just being a big lanky center that's going to get misses and going to get blocks and
for sure
shoot poorly from the free throw line, which is what he is.
He is fairly ordinary from the line, as you just said. 67% from the line, so far from the worst, but far from the best. But in games that he played 30 minutes or more last season, he averaged 13 points per game, 3.6 assists, 13 rebounds, almost 3/4 of a steal, and 1.54 blocks per game. So for me, if he can consolidate that center position, I can see a little bit of Zubac from the Clippers in what Duren is. He's a rim protector. He's going to get you plenty of boards. He's going to shoot the ball at a high percentage around the rim. If you're punting free throws and 3-pointers and you're looking for a core center build, he's actually ranked 30 on the year last year.
Look, I get it. I just don't think that if you've got your best players out there on the court, like, I wonder if there's going to be too much traffic. Like, I'm not a Tobias Harris truther. I think that he's the 100th best player that is the 100th best player in the league. And really, if you're looking at their best team for development, you've got to get Ron Holland in there. And then if you've got Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland, and Jalen Duren, who all can't fucking shoot, like, what do you do? So if I'm the coach, what I do is I try to get Isaiah Stewart out there who can stretch the floor a little bit and let these guys try and cook. I think sometimes to try and get these best lineups, they're going to have to insert a Duncan Robertson who can stretch the floor a lot better than Jaden Ivey. You'd be mad not to be super high on, the talent of Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland. Like, these guys are going to be the future. And until they can develop a shot, I'm not sure you can play Jalen Duren 30 minutes a night. That's my concern. I think that he's a 26, 28 minute per night guy. And that's it. If he gets 30 minutes per night, wheels up. Like, I would much rather take him than a lot of those other centers. And to be honest, that sort of 65 to 75 is where I'm looking to target centers. There seems to be some value. I'm not reaching unless I get an absolute gun. Like, I'm not drafting centers in the 40s. There's just not any value there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If we'll move off Duren in a sec, but if he was to play 30 minutes a game and went at his averages last year, he would have been ranked 2nd for boards and 5th for blocks overall. So if you can see that consistent nature in Duren's game for Detroit this year, and they end up playing Isaiah Stewart more at the 4 than what they do the 5, and they rest wholeheartedly on that Cade and Duren pick and roll combo, then I'm with you. It's wheels up. Also, I want to talk about Ausar Thompson in this space. I don't see him as a sleeper. If he comes on like his brother has, like we've seen his brother doesn't have an outside shot, but yet was ranked inside the top 50 last year, Matrix. Can you see a bit of amen in Ausar at Detroit?
Look, not really. They've had like different coaches, so I'm not 100% sure. Like, obviously they've been coached to get his shot and they're okay to live with his shortcomings. You can't shoot. You can't be an NBA player and shoot 22% from 3. You have to get better at some stage. But I do think that in their best lineup, Ausar has to be out there. And whether that's tailoring to Ausar by getting these other guys out there, I think that has to happen. I do think he's worth a late flyer, but yeah, I wouldn't be hedging all my bets on him. I do think that if you take him, what have you got him at? I've got him at 107 at the moment. I do think that if you're taking Ausar down there, like last year he was the 149th player. Like, yeah, I've probably got him a little bit too high, but you just think that this team's going to develop and go forward, and Asar's going to be a big reason for that.
Yeah. Ranked 97 after the All-Star break.
Yeah, cool.
He was averaging 2.7 stocks per game. You just outside of the 11 points, it was only 5 rebounds and 2 assists. So he's really a defensive streamer, if you will. You're not really getting too much from anywhere else, and there's no real outside shot. So ranked 7th for steals and 8th for blocks amongst small forwards post All-Star break.
You've probably got to tank. You've probably tanking 3-point percentage. If you play in one of those leagues, you're never getting threes out of there, which small forward's usually somewhere that you get it. But if you've got the build right, like you start to look at those -1 stats that we look at so often in those punt builds, he's perfect for the right build.
Oh, spot on. Love it. Now we're going to get into who we think is being slept on this year.
You're simply the best.
Tobias Harris, you said it before. He's the 100th best player, and he'll give you the 100th best player stats. There's nothing more. There's nothing less you're getting out of Toby, is there?
No. And could be like the least sexy 100th pick. I don't know when you're building a board, but there's something I do. I look at these guys and I'm like, well, he was the 127th best player, but I think I see some growth. I go and throw all these guys at 100 and then rank them between 100. And I have just seen Tobias Harris probably slide from 98 to 108 just because I'd rather take a gamble. I'd rather go anywhere else. I do think that he's pivotal in Detroit's rise because he has been such a steady part of this team when you've got so much youth around and everything. But man, like at the second Ausar or Ron Holland or some of these guys start to show any promise, who are you benching? It's the old guy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon so. And you talk about it being the non-sexy pick. It's like going down to your local bar, your local pub, having a look at the menu and going, no, I'll just stick with a Palmer tonight, thanks. You just know what you're going to get. You'll get your 15 points, a few rebounds, a few assists. You might get a 3 here and there. You might get a steal here and there. But until these other players come onto the scene, your Ron Holland, your Ausar Thompson, who develop an outside shot, and all of a sudden you've got scallops and prawns on the menu that are a much more appealing and more sexier option, then we're stuck with the Palmer of the bloody crew, aren't we?
I'd go even further and say it's just like a schnitzel. There ain't no fucking
There you
sauce
go.
on this. Like,
No,
like Ron Holland's like a pineapple topper on your palmy, but then you've got Toby Harris, and yeah, that shit doesn't even come with gravy. It's dry. It's 13.7 points, shooting 35% from 3. It's gross.
There is one more player I want to ask you about, and it's someone who had a very injury-ravaged year last year, but started to come on a little bit, and that's Jaden Ivey. Where do you see him progressing to this year? He was inside the top 100 before he got hurt last year.
Yeah, I'm high on Jaden Ivey, and it comes from looking at the depth chart and the fact that he's probably going to have to be the secondary ball handler behind Cade. He's probably going to have to be the starting shooting guard. When you have a look at how they're going to improve, or you have a look at, if you ask the coach, what do we need to go forward in this team from where we lost last year, I don't think the coach would be saying, Caris LeVert is going to be the savior of our season. I think it's going to be that Jaden Ivey was missing, and he was great before he went. I'm not worried about him playing 30 games last year. What did he have? Did he have a blood clot? It was something. It was something pretty rough. But you've got him coming back into this lineup. He's going to play more than 30 minutes a night. We actually haven't seen him play beside Cade very much at all. So if you have a look at the year that Cade played 12 games, that was the year that Jaden Ivey played 77 games. You have a look at the year afterwards, Jaden Ivey played 77 and Cade only played, what did he play? Late 50s. Like, we haven't really seen Ivey and Cade enter the court. And I think that this is the future for this team. I'm pretty high on him. I think that there could be a lot of growth from Jaden Ivey, and he just does the things that I like in a basketball player. I think there's value from where he's getting drafted. And if you are looking at sleepers, like he is so much better than the 138th ranked player. So, and that's where he's being drafted. So,
broken fibula. He had broken leg last year.
Yeah, cool.
So that's why we missed him. I actually really like him as well. I think there's so much growth in these young Pistons that they could be that upstart team that shock a few people this year. You said they won 15 games 2 years ago. They've gone from 15 wins to 44 wins. Nothing's to say that they can't improve on that again. And with all the injuries in the East, there's bound to be a team that shocks everyone. Indiana did it last year. It could be Detroit this year.
Yep. And I'm with it. And it's going to be off the back of these young guys. So, yeah, pretty exciting for Detroit fans, all three of them in Australia. So,
yep. That would probably include New Zealand as well, I reckon. But as we go through to our predicted starting five matrix, and I think you and I are pretty similar in the way that we're thinking here with Cunningham at the 1.
Yeah, there's no way that he's not going to be.
Yep. Ivy at the 2.
Yep, I've got there. I do just get worried that if they do start to lose, Ivy's not the best shooter, I suppose. Shot 40% last year, but that's in a smaller sample size, probably classically been a 33, 34% shooter. I do think that if they start to struggle, then Duncan Robertson might find himself in there. But I think to start the year and for the most amount of minutes being played, it's going to be Ivy at the 2.
For sure. And then you've got Ausar Thompson, Tobias Harris at the 3 and 4, and then Big Duren in the guts at the 5.
Yep, that's where I am. The exciting one for me off the bench is that Ron Holland as well. I do think that he will start at some stage. I just don't think it'll be to start the year. He is exciting, like 6'8", defensive minded. I don't know how much he can play with Ausar Thompson, but probably has a better shot than Ausar Thompson. So, he might find himself out there relatively soon, I think.
Yeah, nice. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do us for the Detroit Pistons. If you'd like to read all about the Detroit Pistons within our Patreon, the link is in the description below. But for tonight, on the horse, this has been Matrix. He's only got through 2 beers, so we've done this pretty quickly. And we'll see you soon for our next team preview. We'll catch you then.
Cheerio.